1000万 MLB 翻訳侍戦士チャンネルへようこそ。カクタスリーグの試合まで待ちきれない時期になりました。今季のドジャースは佐々木朗希投手の加入に加え、山本由伸投手の速球にも関心が集まっています。キャンプでの投球練習を見ていると、実戦での活躍が本当に楽しみですね。日本人選手の新たな挑戦を現地解説陣の目線とともに分かりやすくお届けいたします。お見逃しのないようぜひチャンネル登録をお願いいたします。
Walk-off from about 15 years ago. I'll explain why. Not only is that handsome man right there, he's also a pretty good actor and baseball player too. But I'm trying to prove to all of you that I can come off the bench and knock it out of the park. That's right. It's me, Jerry Harrison Jr. John Hartong is out on assignment today. So finally, after about 2,000 shows here at this very network, they're letting me host today. Buckle up. This is going to be interesting, and hopefully we'll have some fun. On today's show, we'll have the latest camp news from Camelback Ranch, including Bobby Miller and Yoshi on the mound. As the entire roster gets ready for Cactus League play that begins in just about 3 days, you know what? I cannot wait. Plus, we continue our spring conversation series with my sit-down interview with Tanner Scott, the newest Dodger reliever, on why he chose the Dodgers. He's all business, and I love his mentality. Also, his drive to win a title. It's time to put the World Series in the rearview mirror and focus on the road ahead. It's time for Access Sportsnet Dodgers, and I'm finally the host. Let's go. Welcome to Access Sportsnet Dodgers. That's right. I am your host for tonight, Jerry Harrison Jr., alongside legend Tim Cates and semi-legend J.P. Hornshaw. How you guys feeling?
I'm doing great, Jerry. You know what? You've played for a lot of teams. You played a lot of positions. You sat in a lot of chairs. This is awesome to see you in that chair.
Well, let's not get crazy.
Well, I am actually very relieved because when you came in, my initial reaction is, John, you spent way too long in the tanning booth. And then you turned around and I was like, oh, Jerry's hosting. This is great. This is much better.
It's not the tanning booth. It's, playing some golf out there in that sun. But I digress. Yes, it is a little different. But you know what? We're going to go to the full screen because we got a lot to get to. Here's the full screen. On Thursday, the Cactus League opener. Yes, that's important. And also, we are looking at March 18th and 19th. That is right. The Major League Baseball season starts with your defending champion Dodgers against the Cubbies. That should be a great series. Then back to March 23rd to the 25th, we have the Freeway Series, which is always fun, guys.
Yeah.
Dodgers, Angels, some of a little rivalry. March 27th, that's when the home opener begins. And word is out, the rings will be handed out at that time. Here's Dave Roberts with some sound.
Where we're at right now today, the pitchers are in a good place. The buildup is going as we had hoped. And so not sure who's gonna start the first couple games or when Yoshi's gonna go. But yeah, facing hitters, building up to 2 innings, 3 innings, and that progression, I think that to each guy is where we need to be.
Time this year you talk about the pep in your step, but considering what you accomplished last season and the off season, how does that feel different, look different for you now?
I think it looks different because guys are still hungry. I don't think there's anxiousness to sort of prove something. I think guys are looking at what we have with our ball club as an opportunity to do something really special. Our focus is to get better each day, to win a championship, to go back to back, and but still appreciate each day we're getting better. It is different than last year. I think there's certainly a lot of the same, cast of characters, but there's some infusion of some new guys with some edge, some hunger that want their own hardware. I think that blend. And like earlier on, we were talking that it's a close group already, and that doesn't happen, at every camp. But this is already a close group.
We love seeing actual baseball being played. We're going to have some Cactus League action this Thursday. How excited are you guys?
I'm looking forward to it, and I think finally we'll be able to put 2024 behind us in the championship. And certainly the ring ceremony will be great on opening day at Dodger Stadium. But so many additions to this roster, so many additions to the rotation, and Blake Snell and Sasaki, and then you get the bullpen additions. You got some turnover in the position players. I'm excited to see guys come back healthy in 2025 and how they're going to look in helping out this Dodgers team. There's a lot of new optimism in 2025 for this Dodgers team.
Yeah, we've been hearing about Roki Sasaki for how long before he actually became a Dodger? I can't wait to see this guy pitch. We had been hearing a little bit less about Hae-Sung Kim before he became a Dodger. That was kind of an unexpected signing, but you talk about the newcomers, Tim. For me, it starts with those two guys, seeing what they look like in a Dodger uniform, seeing how long it takes them to acclimate to North America, to the thin air of Arizona. How's that going to play out? What do those guys look like? And hey, I can actually read the names on the back of the uniforms this year. I'm stoked about that too.
I'm excited to see the newcomers. You know, obviously Blake Snell, he is a veteran guy, but now he's got some pressure on him. He will be the ace of the staff, and also the young guys that they're looking to make their mark in spring training.
Think about how many guys on this Dodgers roster are coming back from injuries, guys that are coming back to prove what they're going to be able to do at the major league level and try to make this roster, whether it's starting pitching in Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin to position players like James Outman and Andy Pages. There's a lot of guys fighting for positions, and competition, as Pete Carroll always said, is a good thing on a team.
Absolutely, that is a great point. Now, with more on the build-up to Cactus play, let's hear from manager Dave Roberts. He was earlier at Camelback Ranch.
That's the tricky part. I think that the first two that come to mind are James Outman and Andy Pages, who on any other major league roster, they would have a job. They would, be certain to get 400, 500 plate appearances. Kike Hernandez is a guy that certainly we value. But yeah, the opportunities with us, it has to be sacrifice. And for me, my job is to make sure our guys stay on board with being ready when called upon, knowing that the most important thing is us winning baseball games. And guys will get an opportunity, because at some point in time, meritocracy, merit matters. But when you have a roster that's arguably the most talented roster in history, 1 through 40, playing time is hard. And all guys want to play, should want to play, but it takes some buy-in to their teammates in the organization. And I do believe that, Kike is a prime example of not being the guy during the season, but on the biggest of stages, he was counted on and performed. So you just never know how things are going to play out, but focus on getting better each day.
We will never get tired of celebrating the World Series championship. But for the players, it's time to focus on this season. We talked with the players about it this weekend at Camelback Ranch.
It just feels different. Like the new guys, the guys that were here last year, the one that we just won, it just in the past. Yeah. And it feels like everybody now, they want more. And the new guys, they want that bad. And as you said, like everybody was here earlier than they're supposed to be here. Just to get everything going, be more ready, more prepared for the season, and it's been special.
That's why we stay hungry every year. We understand that there's like a level of greatness that we're trying to chase down, and why not? It's just crazy. People could look at it as arrogance, or the Dodgers are trying to, change the game. We need X, Y, and Z in the game to change so it levels the playing field. It's like, well, why does the rest of the league get to determine where the standard is? Why can't someone continue to push the level of greatness, and instead of comparison, trying to pull people down to your level? And it's not a knock again against the rest of the league, but that's how we feel, and that's how every team should feel. But we actually that's in our DNA. We want to win every year.
It's not just a one and done type mentality, and I think moving forward, when I saw all the different signings, it was like, all right, we're going for it again.
That's what happens. You got 3 Hall of Famers at the top of the lineup. All they want to do is win. Plus, when you win, it just makes everything better. Winning it fixes all problems, and it's a beautiful thing. So to be able to hear that, see that, and then as we practice and go to work, and see how focused and committed everyone is. It's fun to be a part of.
The work that is being put on by the guys and by the organization in the offseason. We see how many free agents we sign, how much talent we got in that clubhouse that is new, that is fresh, that they want to win for the first time. You guys got a guy like Blake Snell that came to this organization because he wants to taste winning on a sustainable, range. So I feel like that's what kind of make me believe we're still hungry, and the mentality is to win another championship.
Guys, baseball hasn't seen a repeat champion since the Yankees of the 98 to 2000. That's got to be motivation right there, right?
It is, but I think individually there's a lot of motivation for guys financially, guys who've already won, maybe to add one more and add to some of the numbers on the back of their baseball cards and their baseball reference page. For some guys, it's financially just to get another contract because they're going into the final year of their deal. Guys want to come back off of injuries and contribute to this team like a Tony Gonsolin, a Dustin May. So I think there's a lot of motivation individually. Dave Roberts, when he addressed the team over the weekend, sort of talked about that. Individually, take care of business. Whatever you're supposed to do that day, you focus on your job, and then collectively, between the 9 innings that we played that night, we'll go out there as a team and win. So I think individually, there's a lot of motivation for these guys.
I like what Miguel Rojas said right there, which is that if any individual is still satisfied with having won a championship last year, there are plenty of newcomers who were not part of last year's team who will be around to remind them, whether that's a Blake Snell, a Hae-Sung Kim, any of these newcomers who came in and want what the Dodgers had last October. There's going to be plenty of reminders. Dave Roberts also said something last year that stuck with me, which is that for a lot of teams coming in to play the Dodgers, that's their World Series.
Absolutely.
Right there. And if the motivation isn't in the Dodgers clubhouse to remind them of the importance of every single game, it's going to be in the other clubhouse because they're going to gear up to play the Dodgers as if it's the final out of the World Series every game.
That's a good point. Now you're the hunted instead of the team that's trying to hunt the other championship team from the year before. So in that role, JP, these guys need to adapt to that. You have to have some dogs out there and guys that know how to go out and compete every night and be the team that's being hunted.
You know what? One guy that is motivated, Bobby Miller. Obviously, Bobby Miller didn't have the season he would have liked, but he is motivated. He spoke with our Kirsten in Camelback. Cactus League play gets underway this week. The first of 20 games in Arizona is Thursday when the Dodgers host the Chicago Cubs at noon. As usual, every single Cactus League game can be seen right here on Sports.LA. Then join us for post-game highlights and reactions on Access. It's always fun to see the regulars get some at-bats, throw some pitches, and then see the prospects get their chance to shine at camp. Cactus League play begins on Thursday. All right, guys, I know we talked about this a little earlier, but let's discuss the players that have the most to prove this spring. You know what? I'm going to start with a position player I love, CT3. I know the last couple years haven't really gone his way, didn't really get a whole lot of playing time. I know the strikeouts have been an issue. He's worked hard this offseason to cut down on the strikeouts. I'm hoping he has a great camp.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dustin May as far as starting pitching is concerned, Jay, here. Dustin May, still only 27 years old. Just haven't seen enough of him in the last few years because of the injuries. 21 to 23, he's made just 20 starts. Hoped to come back last year. They had the esophagus issue. 9 starts in 2023, was 4-1 with a 2.63 ERA before the arm gave out in that game against the Twins. He has got a lot of motivation to come back and prove to people that he can be the Dustin May from a few years ago where he was just absolutely nasty.
Yeah, guys, we were talking about the difference between different sliders and sweepers and slurves. Evan Phillips' sweeper is a special weapon out of this bullpen. A year ago at this time, we were talking how many saves is this guy going to rack up? Well, now, Evan Phillips has a lot to prove. He has to prove, number one, that he can get back to being the guy who he was at the beginning of last season, and number two, if and when he gets past this shoulder injury, that is not going to hinder him in 2025. I think Evan Phillips has to prove that he can regain that role, not necessarily a closer, but just a valuable weapon out of Dave Roberts' bullpen who can use that sweeper to great effect.
Now let's look ahead. The most important player as the season begins. I'll start with the position player, Will Smith. Listen, we know Will Smith has been an all-star. He's America's catcher, but for some reason, the last couple second halves of season, he has really struggled with the bat. if this guy turns on in the second half the way he's hit in the first half the last couple seasons, he could have a tremendous impact on this lineup. We know about the Big Show. We know about Mookie, Fab Five Freddy, obviously Teoscar Hernandez. You put Will Smith, his offensive production, to go along with leading this pitching staff, who's done a great job also throwing out runners. He's done outstanding at that. But with the bat, we gotta get Will Smith. Maybe it's the diet. Maybe he continues his strength. Because if he has a monster second half with the bat, this team is going to be near impossible. Tomorrow with Access Sportsnet Dodgers at 6. Kirsten in Arizona. Tim and I will be back in studio. And hopefully, John is back in the big chair. See you tomorrow night at 6. They told me I had to do at least one stand-up on today's show. And just like I cannot wait for John Hartong to be back at work, Tony Gonsolin cannot wait to be back on the mound. On Friday, I talk with the Catman at Camelback. Let's get connected with Tony Gonsolin. Tony Gonsolin, back in action, and will be back in the Dodgers rotation. How excited are you that you're healthy and ready to go?
I'm super excited. I was chomping at the bit last year trying to get back, help this team make a playoff run, and then hopefully help in playoffs. Didn't work out that way, but super excited to help this squad this year.
It's not lost on us, anybody who really follows the Dodgers, but obviously there's been a lot of moves. Blake Snell signed Tyler Glasnow last season to an extension after being traded over here. You were an all-star a couple years ago. How excited are you to be chomping at that bit to say, you know what, hey, I had a pretty good start to a season a few years ago, and I can contribute to the staff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just ready to go out there and compete, hopefully get the ball every fifth, sixth day, whatever it is, and give our squad a chance to win, just keep us in the game and see what happens. Let this lineup do their job.
Listen, we talk about you being the competitor that you are. You pitched injured, not just hurt. You're injured. You're trying to stay in the rotation, allow us to have extra innings from the starters, but obviously you couldn't go any further. How difficult was it for you to really call it kind of quits, get that surgery, and then watch the guys have success? Now listen, you always want your teammates to have success, but you know that you really want to be a part of that and be on the field.
Yeah, we were in a tough spot when I got the results back from the MRI, so I felt like my body felt good, arm wasn't hurting too bad, just tried to go out there and give our team, eat up some innings, hopefully so that bullpen could relax a day. Didn't really work out great that way, but yeah, finally, when we called it quits, had a really rough outing, didn't recover well from that, and then, surgery, it is what it is, and gave me a lot of time to come back to be prepared for this year.
I say it all the time, my favorite pitch, now that I'm not playing anymore, is the cambio. Splits is right behind that pitch because it is a devastating pitch when thrown right. You throw one of the best splits in all of baseball. How excited are you? You have a couple of guys now. Rocky's here, obviously Yamamoto that throws that split finger, Kirby Yates as well out of the bullpen. Will you guys at certain points of spring training or throughout the season maybe kind of see how the other guy throws and maybe tinker with yours a little bit, maybe try to improve it if you can?
Yeah, definitely. I got the luxury of watching Yoshi pitch all last year to see what his split he does. He throws his really hard. It's a little bit different than mine. Got to stand in a little bit when Roki was playing catch the other day, and again, his splitter is quite different than mine. But Kirby, he's one of the guys where I'm going to pick his brain often about what he's thinking, how he's trying to use it on guys, where he's trying to go when he's trying to throw for a strike, for a ball, just kind of how he approaches his splitty, because I feel like ours are very similar.
We have a lot of guys in camp, obviously on the pitching side. I think what's going to be great for you especially, and a couple of guys like Oroki, Yamamoto, the six-man rotation. Obviously historically in the big leagues it's been 5, but how do you think you guys will benefit from that six-man rotation where you guys get that extra day or two of rest?
Yeah, absolutely. I think someone like myself benefits a lot from that. Coming off of surgery, coming off of not getting any big league innings last year, I think it helps me maintain that health longer and not necessarily be on like an innings restriction.
Tony, I've known you for a couple years now, obviously watching you play, being around the clubhouse a little bit. You are really determined this year to do your thing. How excited? This is my last question for you. How excited are you to put the baseball world back on notice that Tony Gonsolin is back?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You know, we had Fan Fest the other day, or a couple weeks ago, and felt like I was just a ghost at times, just under the radar. And yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. But when we get on that field, they're gonna know.
I saw you on that golf course too. That's when I really saw it. We were at Justin Turner's golf event. That's when I really saw it. And you're right, at Fan Fest, you had that eye of the tiger. I'm not gonna say it. Tony the Tiger, you're great. I'm not going to say it, but I just did. Tony, I appreciate your time, man. I look forward to watching you pitch, and I know you're going to have a huge comeback season for the Dodgers, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You know, guys, Dave Roberts has already named 4 guys to be in the rotation on opening day. Is Tony Gonsolin the best bet to be that 5th starter?
I think it's his job to lose right now. You go back to 2022 and what he did, 16-1 and 24 starts, and then got the injury in 23. If he were a superhero, he'd be the forgotten man, not the cat man, the forgotten man, as he talked about, kind of just riding underneath the radar, kind of floating there with all these stars they now have on this team, the depth they brought in as starting pitching. If he can come in and be the Tony Gonsolin from 2022, absolutely, he is in the starting rotation.
Yeah, you never want to take it for granted that a guy will just bounce back coming off of a Tommy John surgery. And in that regard, both he and Dustin May are kind of in a similar boat. This is, for me, it's the most exciting competition in camp between him and May. Throw Bobby Miller in there as well, but to get that number 5 starter job out of camp, Tony Gonsolin was ready at the end of last season. He had a normal offseason. I would give him the edge based on that alone, but I found it interesting to see that he was going to pick Kirby Yates' brain because let's say he doesn't have the upper 90 stuff again. Kirby Yates is a guy who thrives with that fastball splitter combo without the upper 90 stuff. That might be who Tony Gonsolin is, at least at the beginning of 2025. That might be enough.
You know, guys, I've got a chance to know Tony Gonsolin the last couple of years, and he's kind of been a little bit reserved. You know, but seeing him this offseason, and yes, he's kind of taking it personal a little bit. He is on a mission to be that 5th starter. Another guy, check out the Cactus League calendar. The first game is Thursday when the Dodgers host the Cubs. And then it's game on. 20 games in Arizona, all of them right here on Sportsnet LA. You know what, guys? Saturday night's NBA Slam Dunk Contest did not feature any all-star. And the winner was a guy who doesn't even play in the NBA. The NBA, listen, they are in dire straits. So let's talk about the Home Run Derby. Home Run Derby doesn't have that problem. Yep. What stars would you want to see in the Home Run Derby?
Give me Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Jose Canseco.
It's not players for me, it's what I want to see. Aluminum bats! Aluminum bats in Home Run Derby. This thing would be awesome. 600-foot home runs.
Just the regular stars. Aaron Judge, The Big Show, the current stars carry the game. Let's do it. For Tim, JP, I am Jerry Hairston Jr., your host for One Day. John, come back, brother!
なんだか胸が躍る。ドジャースの新シーズンになりそうです。ブレイク・スネル投手と佐々木朗希投手を迎え入れ、チームの士気は最高潮に達しているようですね。個人的に心を打たれたのは、怪我から復帰するトニー・ゴンソリンの闘志あふれる姿勢でした。新しく加入した選手たちとすでにチャンピオンを経験しているメンバーが一つになって連覇を目指す姿勢が素晴らしいですね。まずは木曜日から始まるカクタスリーグで彼らの本気度が垣間見えるはず。皆さんの注目選手は誰でしょうか。ぜひコメントで教えてくださいね。それではまた次回お会いしましょう。